generosity beyond belief. And he's always thinking about ways to give value to people, to uplift and encourage and support and nourish in any way possible, is who he is. And what I noticed as I was putting this whole thing together is that people started to come to contribute because they felt like it, and to help and to make this a successful day for all of you. Without being asked, they just contributed because they felt like it. And I believe that all that's happening because it's a reflection of the quality of this man you're about to hear this wonderful program from. So I'd like to first of all thank Debbie Rogers from Lawyers Island. So I invited Debbie to come because she might be a candidate for what we're about to talk about, and she would love the information. And then she said that I would love to provide breakfast for everyone, and coffee, and Debbie also did that for us, because she felt like it. I'd also like to introduce Amy. Beautiful welcome committee here, and Amy, without being asked, got on the phone and started calling people because she also saw a presentation in the Thunderstruck of quality and how excited people were in the room that they wanted to participate. So, anyway, with that said, how would you like to hear Secrets of the Affluent? Yes. Are we ready to go? Jason Primo.
Thank you, Ms. Darrell. You know, with an intro like that, I hope I live up to the hype. I mean, that was pretty nice, right? My name's Jason Fremo. I am a producing branch manager at VIP Mortgage, and thank you so much for coming this morning. I'm excited about what it is that I have. I can't wait to share it. You know, since we're here already, though, do you think that maybe we should have a little fun while we're doing this? Yes. Is that okay if we have some fun? So you might notice in front of you, you have some poker chips. Does everybody have poker chips? Yes. So we're going to play a little game with these poker chips. And everybody in front of you, you have 5 of them. What we're going to do is we're going to auction off a couple of items. A couple of cool items that I've selected. Now, here are the rules for the auction. Number 1, you can't share chips. So whatever it is that you have in front of you, that's what you got, okay? Second rule is this: whoever gets to a max bid first wins. So if everybody has the same amount of money, the first one that I hear saying it is going to win that bid. Fair enough? Clear as mud? Good stuff? Now here's the other thing. To earn some bonus chips. What did I do with my bonus chips? Here they are. Because I thought it might be fun if we were here, maybe we'll do a little get to know Jason, right? I'm your new friend, so now some of you know the answers to these questions, okay? So I'm sorry to say you can't cheat and answer these, but I'm going to start out and just give you guys an opportunity, get a little flavor of who I am. So my first question is this. First one who gets it wins. How many kids do I have?
11.
I said you couldn't compete. You already knew that. He cheated. I have 11 kids, believe it or not. That makes me completely crazy. Just so you know, all of my kids, they are adopted. They're from all over the world. So I have, yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I have kids from Africa, Native American children, everything. So I always tell people whenever we go places, we don't actually go, we descend upon places. That's kind of how it works. Okay, here's the second question. No answering this question. Behind every good man, there is a woman. I couldn't have 11 kids without the right wife. So I've been married for a period of time. How many years have I been married?
29. 32.
I haven't heard it yet.
17. 27. 36.
You're closest.
14. 20. 21. 19.
Who said it? Nope. 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 Down one. Who said 23 first? Everybody's pointing over here, so. You know, I'm going to have to find a better way to do this, right? 5 extra chips. 20. Okay, now here's the last one. Anybody can answer this one. This one's going to be important for later. This doesn't have to do with my kids or family or anything. I want to know how good you are at mortgage terms. Loan officers, sorry, Duncan, Amy, can't Can't answer this. I know you know it. Who can tell me what CLTV means? Oh, I asked a good one. CLTV, what is it? Close. You got 3 of the 4 words correct. It's just that first one. What did you say? Combined loan to value. Very good. Excellent. Round of applause. There you go, brother. Combined loan to value. What that refers to, so in case you don't know, loan to value refers to the balance of your loan versus the value of your house. Combined loan to value is the value of a first mortgage and a second mortgage over the value of your house. Very good job. Very good job. Okay, who wants to win some stuff? You guys ready for this?
Yes.
I have Black Forest gummy bears. And I have decided, just so you know, that this is calorie-free Thursday. That's a total lie. I just lied to you guys. Just not sure there's calories in them. About 100. But I want to know who wants to take home the gummy bears. Who is interested in gummy bears? I'm going to start the bidding at $2. $2 for gummy bears. Who's going to give me 2? This is a gummy bear loving crowd. Do you see this? It's impressive. $2. Can I get $2 for gummy bears? I got 2, but thank you for bailing me out. I was afraid I bought the wrong thing. $2. I'm looking for 3. Anybody got $3? I got $2 looking for 3. 3. There you go, Debbie. She's got 3. Somebody's going to do 4, right? I got 3. 3 going once, twice. Sold. I will take 3 of your poker chips.
Oh, I thought
Thank
it was
you.
real dollars. I didn't know I was giving my chips away.
Oh, I didn't explain that. You thought you were paying me. That's what you. So now maybe we'll feel more free to bid, right? Okay. I know, right? See, that's the problem. How do you eat a Reese's peanut butter cup? So many different ways to do that. Now, I think this is a little bit better than the gummy bear, so I'm going to start this one at $3. Can I get 3? I got 3 right there. I knew it. I knew it. Anybody want to go 4? We got somebody who's going to. We got 4 over here. I'm looking for 5. Anybody got 5? I got 5 right there. Anybody want to go 6? Some of you 6. Going 6. Anybody going to go 7? A couple of you have 7. 6. Going once, twice. To the cheater in the front who knows me already and answer the questions. Golly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Who doesn't love a good Kit Kat? This is not just any Kit Kat. This is 6 full-size Kit Kats in here. This is legit, okay? I'm going to start the bidding at this at 3. Who's going to give me 3 for the Kit Kat? 5 it is. That's my man right there. 5. He knows what he wants. Anybody going to go 6? Do I got 6? Somebody has 6. I got 6 right there. Yes. Who's going to go 7? Anybody going to do 7?
Can I still need strips?
Can you still? No, I wish you could, man. Gosh. What do we got? 6? 6 it is. Going once, twice. Sold. Sold for 6. Very, very good. Excellent job. Excellent. Was that awesome? Okay, I got some good news for you. If you didn't win, you're not out. Because guess what? We are doing the very first West Valley stimulus program. My boys in the back, that's my brother Devin, that's Dustin, they're on my team. We just passed a stimulus bill, like the government, because that's what we do. We're going to give you guys another opportunity because guess what I got? I got more candy up here. I got more gummy bears if you want it. I got more Kit Kat, and I got more Reese's. So, I know, right? If you only knew beforehand, it'd be so much better. Let's get that stuff passed out. There we go. There we go. Now, while they're passing those out, I do want to record this. I want to make sure I get this right. So, the gummy bears, what did those go for? 3. 3. The gummy bears went for 3. The Reese's, what did the Reese's go for? 7?
6.
They went for 6? You paid 6. Are we being honest about that? Okay, Kit Kat. How much did the Kit Kat go for? 6. Okay. All right. Did everybody get their stimmy? That's what my daughter calls it. Dad, I got my stimmy today. So we're going to start again. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is the last round, so get in or get left. Your chips do you no good in about 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you right now. I have another bag of gummy bears. Calorie-free gummy bears on a Thursday. Who is going to give me at least 3 for the gummy bears? I got 3 right there. Who's going to go 4? Of course they are. I got 4 right there. I'm looking for 5. Who's going to do 5? Somebody going to do 5? I got 4. Oh, we're all saving up. Going once? 5? 5? Looking for 6. Anybody got 6? 5. Going once? Twice? 6 right here. Oh, I like that last minute. Is that fun? 6. Anybody going to go 7? These are gummy bears. Okay, going once? Twice? Gummy worms, is that what they are? Oh, yeah. Very good. Excellent deal. Thank you very much. 6 it is. You see how that works? That's the economy, y'all. Okay, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. I know somebody wants to. There's 5 of them in here, just so you know. 5. I got 5 in the back already. 6? 10! I've got 10 right here. 10 going once. Some of us might have more than 10, right? 10 going once, twice, 10 it is. See, that's excellent. That's exactly how you do it.
Thank you.
It's perfect. Now everybody knows what's next, right?
Kit Kat.
I got 10 over here. That's the way to do it. I'm telling you. Go hard or go home. That's good. Anybody have 11? Going once, twice. You have 11?
No, they don't.
You got 10. He's out. 10 it is. Can we mortgage something? That's what we're talking about, right? That's okay. Never fear. Hey, boys, can you do me a favor? Since I don't want anybody to feel left out, can we pass around? I got a little extra in case you wanted something. I wasn't going to be totally. Now, here's something interesting. Let's kind of do this. So our gummy bears, what did our gummy bears go for the second time? 6. Interesting. And then our Reese's went for 10. And then our Kit Kat went for 10. Well, look at this. The second round, our items went for $11 more. Now let me ask you this question. These Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, there's 2 of them right here. You paid 6 for this, you paid 10 for that. Is that one worth more than this one? Who says yes? Raise your hand.
Say that again.
Who thinks that Reese's that we paid $10 for is worth more than this one that we paid $6 for? Who says that it's worth more? Depends on the buyer. Is this a room of real estate agents or what? So that's okay. Who says that they're not? Who says that they're worth the same? Depends on the appraiser. Yes, it is. It's an opinion of value, right? So here's the deal. Here's my point. Those are the exact same items. The cost to produce them is exactly the same. The calorie content, which we're not talking about today, is exactly the same. You eat them the same way. They come in the same packaging. They're exactly the same thing. Here's the thing, though. You paid less for that than she did for that. So what it means, it isn't necessarily that the value of those are different. It means that your money is worth less. Your money is worth less. So here's the deal. Today we are going to talk about the power of equity. But we're going to take the long way to get there. Here's what my goal is for you today. I want to teach you a few things about how the economy works. I want to teach you how it works specifically relative to inflation, interest rates, appreciation on your home, because all of those are different things that go into what it is that we do every single day. We're reading these articles. Who has seen an article on inflation in the last week? Inflation is a big deal. How many of you have seen articles about interest rates rising in the last? Those are big deals. And here's the deal. If you're sitting in this room, you are either a real estate agent or a consumer. And especially if you're a real estate agent, the way that these affect your business become extremely important. They become important in the ways that we advise our clients, the way that we, show them what their opportunities are and what it is that they need to do. So what I want to do is I want to start and I want to take the long way to teach you what it is that's going on in the economy. And then when we wrap it up, I want to give you some very practical ways that you can take this information to your market. And what my hope is that I give you some ideas about how you might be able to manufacture some transactions to put in your pipeline in the next 90 days. Is that worth your time today?
Yes.
Oh, thank goodness. Phew. We can keep going. So what is inflation? Inflation, well, first let's talk about money. Before we get to inflation, let's talk about money. Money is anything widely accepted in exchange for goods and services. And here's the other thing. Fiat money, it's important to talk about this, it's a substance or device used as money having no intrinsic value. It's not representing anything as gold. Why is that important? Because the United States used to be on the gold standard. Who's heard of that? It used to be that every single dollar that we had was backed by gold. Remember when we were younger and we watched Looney Tunes and they were always trying to rob Fort Knox, right? They don't do that anymore, right? Because gold is something entirely different. Our dollars don't back it. So the value of our currency is constantly changing because there's nothing that backs that currency. And here's the reason why that becomes important in the context of inflation. Inflation is a general sustained upward movement of prices for goods and services in an economy. Economists say inflation occurs when too much money is chasing too few goods. Do you see in our example here, the second time that we went through, we had much more money in the money supply than we did the first time, right? That's one of the reasons why our Reese's Pieces and Kit Kat, the second time through, they sold for more money. In fact, all three of our items did. I'll ask you one more question. If I had 10 different Kit Kat bars, what do you think would have happened to the price here? Gone up or down? Down. It would have probably gone down. Why? Because not everybody's in the market to buy my calorie-free candy today, right? And if there's more, you can pick it up at a better price. So understand, inflation, when we talk about it, there's two different sides to it. There's the supply of currency that we have chasing items, and there's also the supply of the goods that we have of whatever it is that we're selling. So what I want to transition and talk about is I want to talk about interest rates, because interest rates, interestingly enough, are one of those things that is the most affected by inflation. Interest rates are important to every single person sitting in this room. If you're in real estate, your clients can buy less home if interest rates are higher. If you're a homeowner, your payments are higher and you have less disposable cash if your interest rates are higher, right? So here's the deal. I want to start off, before we kind of get too far into it, and let's talk a little bit about how culturally we as Americans hold our wealth. I'm going to talk about 4 ways specifically. There's a couple more, but 4 in general that we could is the places that we put our money. Anybody have any idea what the 4 I'm thinking of are? What's one way? Yeah. Homes. So let's talk about the first one, savings, right? So that's what? Cash? We can put that in a savings account and we can earn a whopping 0.01, right? We can put it in a shoebox underneath our bed. Devin. Boy, I just dropped my brother like that, didn't I? That's awesome. So cash. Cash is one way that we can do it. Now, the second thing that you said was 401ks. What do 401ks invest in? Where do they put the money? Stocks. Yeah, stocks. That's actually, yeah, what else did we say? Bonds, yeah. You have bonds in your 401k. Absolutely. And then the other, I heard somebody else say it, we said property, right? So real estate. Those are the 4 that I really kind of want to talk about a little bit, because these are some of the most common that we deal with all the time. People have cash in their accounts. We invest in 401ks, and those fund managers decide if they're going to put the money in stocks or bonds. And then real estate is another place that we have the opportunity to invest that money. So here's the problem when we start talking about inflation. Does anybody know what the inflation figure was that just came out last month? Anybody know? Close. Close. It is 8.3%. I'm sorry in the back if you can't see this. I'll shout it out to you. Don't worry about it. 8.3% was the inflation number that we had in April. That's actually down because in March that number was 8.5%. So let me ask you this question. If inflation is 8.3% year on year and you have in cash in your bank account $100,000, and we're just going to pretend this 0.01 doesn't happen because it's immaterial, what happens to that $100,000 over the course of a year? What is it worth at the end of a year? Yeah, it's worth 8.3% less, right? So that's what, $8,300 that you lost. You can't buy as many Kit Kat or Reese's Pieces because your money is worth less because the inflation number is what it is, and it makes it a problem, right? So here's the deal. When we don't want to hold money in cash, we look in investing that in a couple different places, right? We can invest it in stocks, or generally we invest it in bonds. Now, let's talk about bonds, okay? What are bonds? Does anybody know what bonds are? Any ideas, any takers?
Yeah, they like sell a piece of paper for over a long period of time.
That's right. It's exactly what it is. It's debt. It's debt that different entities will issue. So there's a couple different places that do it. The least risky bond that exists out there is a T-bill. Treasury bill. So anybody ever wonder how, when our government spends more money than we take in, how we actually finance that? That's exactly what now here's the thing, right? We always heard, how many have heard, all of our debt is held by China? Have you guys heard that?
Yeah.
How does China hold that? Did we go to China and just say, hey, give us a big check? They buy our T-bills. That's exactly what they do. They're buying our T-bills. In fact, it's not just China. Every single government in the world actually is buying our T-bills. Our own Federal Reserve is buying our T-bills. That was part of the last that we had over the years following the Great Recession of 2008. Right? You had quantitative easing, 3 rounds of it, Operation Twist. Part of what happened was the Federal Reserve is going out and they're actually purchasing government debt, is what they're doing. This is considered the safest investment in the world because it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. And it will always be good as long as Congress gets together and raises the debt limit. We'll be okay, right? So T-bills are one way that we can carry this. I'll tell you an interesting thing, because sometimes we get lost in these numbers. You want a fun fact that'll make you look cool at the next dinner party that you go to? To put in perspective of how big a trillion is, right? Just for fun. This is not part of the class, this is free. You get this for free today. If I told you to go back in time 1 million seconds ago, how long ago do you think I'm saying? Anybody guess? 12 days. 1 million seconds is 12 days. You can Google this just so you know. You don't have to take my word for it. Now, if I told you to go back in time 1 billion seconds ago, how long ago do you think that is?
30 years.
How long do you say? 32 years. Very close. That's the closest anybody's ever come. 32 years. Now, here's the big question. If I asked you to go back in time 1 trillion seconds ago, how long ago do you think that is? 500 years. Oh, that's 32,000 years ago. I want you to think about that. The difference between 1 million seconds and 1 trillion seconds is the difference between 12 days and 32,000 years. Like it's nothing, right? That just puts into perspective some of the figures that we're talking about. 12 days versus 32,000 years. So here's the deal, right? There are different types of bonds that exist. T-bills are one of them. Another one that we have is something called mortgage-backed securities. Did you know that all of the mortgage debt, or most of the mortgage debt, I should say, in the United States is actually a bond? That's all that it is. Let me ask you this question. Whenever you take out a mortgage, so Everybody hopefully has a really fantastic interest rate that you got when interest rates came down. We lowered those things. Everybody's doing good, I hope. Let's just say that you hit the lottery and you refinanced your loan, and let's say that you got a 3% interest rate. Some people got lower. Who makes the money on that 3%? The mortgage company? Say that again? The owners of the... Yeah. It's actually a security. Here's something interesting. Whenever you pay your interest payment every single month, and that interest rate is 3%, 2.5% of that goes to the security holder. So in your 401k, whenever that fund manager buys different types of bonds, and he buys maybe Fannie Mae bonds, which are conventional mortgages, they might be making 2.5% on that bond. And interestingly enough, the mortgage company who's servicing it, they're only making about 0.5%. Does that surprise you? It's interesting, right? See, mortgage companies, we don't really actually care what your interest rate is because the mortgage company is not the one who's actually making the money. It's the market that determines what interest rates are. And here's the reason why that's significant, and taking that back to inflation. If inflation is 8.3%, and I'm a fund holder, I'm a security holder, and I have a Fannie Mae bond that's paying me 2.5%. Am I making money or losing money? I'm losing it. I'm losing it bad. And so what has to happen for me to be interested in purchasing this bond, for me to have any interest whatsoever in purchasing this bond, I've got to get a higher rate of return on what it is that I'm doing. So, as you've watched interest rates rise and reset at the beginning of this year, what you're watching is the natural thing that happens when inflation becomes high. Investors are out there and they're looking at it and they're saying, I can choose to put my money one of two places. I can choose to go buy a stock, so I can go buy Apple Computer if I want to, or Microsoft, or pick whoever it is that your stock is, or I can go buy a bond. Now the bond, I'm going to be guaranteed, I'm not going to do it for 2.5%, so rates have reset. Now we're what? 5.5%? So 5.5% means that the coupon's going to pay 5. So I can get a 5% rate of return here, or I can invest in Apple or whatever it is. The problem with this right now is we're afraid of what? We're afraid of a recession, right? So again, this interplay becomes very, very important about where people put their money. Here's an interesting thing about interest rates. And I'm going to peel the curtain back and tell you a little bit about mortgage companies. They don't always tell the truth. How many of you have heard an advertisement when the Federal Reserve was cutting interest rates? Following the Great Recession, Federal Reserve was cutting interest rates. And mortgage companies, what would we do? We would advertise and we'd say, hey, the Fed just cut rates again. Call us and see what your rate is. Duncan's laughing, he knows. Do you know that that rate that the Fed cuts actually really doesn't have much to do with mortgages? Because it's not the mortgage interest rate that they're cutting. It's the rate that they're lending money to banks for. So here's what's interesting, right? Whenever the Federal Reserve comes out and they say that they're cutting interest rates, and they say that's what it is that they're doing, the market takes a look at that and they say, hey, that's awesome. That means that those banks can go and make more loans to small businesses. And they can do that for cheaper. In other words, if I'm a small business and I could borrow $100,000, now I might be able to borrow $135,000. So I can invest in more manufacturing. I can invest in more labor. I can invest in more production. So all of a sudden, the stock price of those companies, because of what the Fed is doing, is going up. You ever watch how the Dow Jones, whenever they introduce a rate cut, the Dow Jones actually goes up? Well, where do they get that money from? Where does that money come from that's going into those stocks? A lot of it actually comes from bonds. And here's the thing about bonds. If you have notes, write this down. Whenever the price of bonds drops, the rate rises. So interestingly enough, in the mortgage world, whenever we were watching the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, every single day on our rate sheets, those interest rates would actually get a little bit worse. Does that surprise you to know that? our interest rates would not improve. They'd actually get a little bit worse because people are selling their bonds, so you're introducing supply. High supply means that prices have to fall to create equilibrium, and so those interest rates actually rise. So right now, something else is going on, right? We've got inflation, it's why things are going up. What is the Federal Reserve doing right now to interest rates? Anybody know? Now we know interest rates have gone up. I'm going to tell you something really, really interesting. The Federal Reserve came out and they raised interest rates by 50 basis points. Do you know what we actually want them to do? We want them to raise them by more. We actually, in the mortgage industry, are rooting for the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates. Why do you think we would be doing that? Say that again?
To create a correction.
Yeah. Because what we want to see is we want to see that the government, we want to see that the Federal Reserve is getting serious about that number right there. Because as long as this number is this high, as long as inflation is that high, interest rates don't have the ability to come down. Interest rates don't have the ability to reset lower until we deal with inflation. So here's the deal. One of the things I want you to learn, because I don't want you to listen to the mortgage company advertisements, they're very deceptive. I want you to be able to look at the markets on your own and figure out what's going on with interest rates. You don't even have to be a loan officer. You don't have to be looking at the mortgage-backed security market every single day. You can literally turn your television on. You can go to Bloomberg, CNBC, whoever your favorite business channel is, and there's one thing that you can look at that will give you a very good idea of what's going on with interest rates. And that's the 10-year Treasury. I don't know if you can see this, but this little graph right here, this green line right down here, shows what the 10-year T-bill is trading at. And this other line that's right above this, the yellow line, that's a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, a conventional loan. Do you see the correlation between those two things? When the T-bill goes up, the interest rates go up. When the T-bill goes down, interest rates go down. So it doesn't matter what the Fed says, it matters what that T-bill is doing. As of yesterday, the 10-year Treasury was trading at 2.91%. Do you remember how low that we got, Duncan? How low is the 10-year Treasury? Do you remember?
Where?
Like a few months ago, like last October? It was like under 1.
Yeah, bottom number 1.
It was like 0.8 or something like that. The 10-year Treasury has reset upwards by over 200 basis points. That's a significant move. That's the reason why our interest rates are doing what it is that they're doing. So let's start to pivot this a little bit, right? All this is great information. Jay, thanks for bringing me to your equity power class and telling me about inflation and the 10-year note. That's great, right?
You said you were taking the long route.
I did. I warned you. I warned you. I'm getting there. Let's start to turn this back to real estate. Let's start to talk about what this means for our industry. We all agree that interest rates are an important part of what it is that we do. One of the things that happens during a period of inflation, during a period of recession, is that the economy starts to change a little bit. Things slow down, stock prices fall, we've seen that. Articles that predict that the United States is heading into a recession. Yeah. Here's the reason why that's significant for every single person sitting in this room. It is really, really easy for us to watch the current market and listen to the headlines and have a little bit of trepidation about what it is that's going on, but it's not all bad news. Recessions aren't great, but in real estate, it's really interesting to watch what happens. This is a graph that I put out, and it has the 10-year Treasury yield. That's the dark line right here. And then it has the core inflation, which is the green. And then these highlighted areas are different recessions that we've gotten into. The thing I want to point your attention to is during recessions, generally what happens is inflation falls And as inflation falls, interest rates do what? They fall. Interest rates, interestingly enough, during inflation fall. There's a word I want you to write down. I want you to remember this. You're going to see it in an article. You're going to read it somewhere, and you're going to go, where did I hear that? And you're going to remember it because you heard it here first. That word is peak inflation. Let me tell you what the market is looking for. The market is looking for peak inflation. We want to know when we reach the height of what that inflationary figure is going to be. That's what we want to know. The reason why that's important for us to figure out is because when we know we've reached the top, that's when we know that we have the opportunity that as that interest rate or that inflation number falls, our interest rates finally have the opportunity to match up to the economy and drop a little bit. I've listened to different economists. This is my projection. My projection is this. I think that we're going to see peak inflation in this economy sometime around August or September. August or September is when I think we're going to see that happen. And here's what I think that means for us. As high as interest rates are right now, and I think they're going to trend sideways, potentially even up a little bit from where we're at right now, but I'm not discounting the fact that I could see at the end of this year, interest rates actually falling back down a little bit once we get on the other side of peak inflation. Let's talk about another thing. Let's talk about home values. Who determines price? Who determines price? Market, buyers? Yeah, that's right. I'll give you a good example. Consumers are the one who determines what price is, right? If I went to Taco Bell, they could decide to sell a taco for $99. I'm not going to buy it, right? I'm the one who decides what that taco is worth because I'm the one who decides what it is that I'm willing to pay for it, right? The other thing that determines price is the equilibrium that's set between supply and demand. Why have values in this market gone up as much as they have? Lack of supply. What else? Willingness to pay more. Why are they willing to pay more? That's right. There's two sides of it. There's supply and there's demand. When you have low supply and you have high demand, prices have to rise to create equilibrium. I'm going to ask you your favorite question. And if you have not been asked this question, I want you to raise your hand because I want to know who you are. How many of you have been asked, is the market going to crash? What do you say to that? What's your answer?
I just say I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not an economist. I think that we will see, real estate cyclical.
Yeah.
I say real estate cyclical, it cycles every so many years, and I do think we'll see a correction. I don't think that we'll ever see a crash like we did in 2008.
Yeah.
I do think that we will see that correction. However, what does that look like? I can't tell you.
That's a great answer. Do you guys like that answer? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We can give her a round of applause. Excellent. We don't know, but you know what we can do? We can make some educated guesses, right? So here's the thing, right? We can actually learn from the market that we're in right now what it would take to create a crash. So if we know that skyrocketing values are a function of supply being down here and demand being up here, for there to be an equally quick depreciation in values, your supply would have to raise and the demand would have to fall. So the first thing to understand when somebody asks you if there's going to be a crash, the question that you have to be able to answer is what's going to happen to supply and demand. Now we know demand is coming down a little bit right now, right? Because interest rates.
Move in here a day.
We have say it again, how many?
We still have 300 people move in here a day, and we don't have enough supply to offset that.
We do not have enough.
Into rent.
We don't even have anything for them. Oh boy, I like what you guys are saying. This is good.
So the access of rent and
So would it be fair to say that demand, right, when interest rates was here, now interest rates are in the 5s, maybe demand went to here?
yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so we still have too much in this market still. Our supply is going up because of days of market and interest rate and price. So we have more listings.
That's right.
However, we still don't have an abundance of supply to offset to create a crash.
That's right. That's right.
What else do we need on the market in order to create an equal workload?
Well, a normal healthy market, Phyllis, you want to help me out? It's what? 28,000, 30,000 at least.
We're at
Over here,
7,000.
23,000. So if you ask that question, every time anybody asks me if there's going to be a crash, I tell people that in order for there to be a crash, we would need to have 28,000 houses on the market.
That's right.
So our builders would need to go out and build 10,000 houses a day.
You're exact.
Months. And if they can build 10,000 houses a day for 6 months, then we might hit a balanced market.
We might, right? Yeah, I mean, supply and demand, and it's not just real estate. I threw these in because anybody remember what that is? Do you remember the stories about people getting in fist fights in Target, you know, because they couldn't get a hold of they made movies about this, right? My son, he wants an Xbox more than he wants anything. This is the retail price of an Xbox, $500. You can't get it. It's been out for a year and a half and you can't find one. Unless you go to eBay, you can pay $825. Until they figure out the supply piece, those prices aren't going to fall, and that's exactly what it is that you're talking about. These were statistics that I took. The Phoenix metropolitan area, the Phoenix MSA, metropolitan statistical area. It's Phoenix, Mesa, Glendale, Litchfield Park, Avondale. It's this whole area. There are over 5 million human beings who live in the valley. There's just over 5, what was it? I think it's up to like 6,000 or 7,000 single-family residences that are for sale. There's not enough inventory for that to happen. Here's some really interesting things as well. You can't see this. This is not as dark or as brilliant as I'd like to see it. I will send this presentation out to every single person who is here so that you can see this. But I want you to, if you could see what it is that I'm looking at, over here, it's talking about household formations. It's not just people who are relocating from California, even though we have a ton of that. Anybody sold to a California buyer? The entire room, right? It's people who are graduating college. It's my son who graduated from Grand Canyon University and he's wanting to start his own life and he's looking to buy a house. There are a ton of people that are entering the market. And if you could see this little graph right here, I don't know if you can actually tell. The boxes that have this little check mark on them, that's what it is that actually exists. This entire row and this piece right here is what's actually needed. We're running at a deficit in terms of supply. Why can't we build houses fast enough?
They don't have the supply, they don't have the trade.
We don't have the supply, we don't have the labor. No matter what it is that we're trying to do, we are limited by constraint in terms of what it is that we have the ability to bring to market. The historical appreciation rate by year over the last 5 years, 10.22 every year. That's actually pretty close. When you start taking a look at that, you buy a house for $300,000 within a year, it's $330,000. After that, it goes up another $33,000. Over the last 5 years, we've seen some really incredible appreciation that's happened because of this piece. We're actually forecasting, now this is not per year, but this is cumulative. And this is data that comes from the National Association of Realtors as well as the Mortgage Bankers Association. They're still expecting, and this is 85301, so not far from here, they're expecting over the next 5 years another 20% increase. I don't know about that, but that's not going down. There's just not enough supply for that piece to go down. Now let me marry this even a little bit more to where it is that we're at as it relates to the way that we deal with our clients. How many of you, working as a buyer's agent, have had a frustrated buyer? Let me ask you this question. How many of you have heard somebody say to you, you know what? I'm just going to wait until it crashes and then I'm going to buy. Who's heard that? Raise your hands. See, here's a fundamental truth about human beings. We're emotional creatures. We buy emotionally, we justify logically. And the way that we feel influences the way that we think. I have a fantastic story for this because I have 11 kids, so my whole life is based on anecdotal evidence from my kids. The best one I can think of is my daughter, Angel. She was moving out of the house. She was looking for a place she wanted to rent. She had this idea that she was going to get this place and her dogs could run in the backyard. The problem was is she didn't have any money. So she went to the world's greatest resource for rentals, which is Craigslist. And she found this amazing opportunity. You see this house? It was only $750 a month. But you couldn't go there because the guy was out of state. And he wanted to conduct business, just over the phone and do those different things. And, well, he didn't have the best grammar and all those different things. My daughter brings all of this correspondence to me from her doing this deal. And she says, Dad, look at this. What do you think? So I look at it and I say, sweetheart, I'm so sorry, this is a scam. First words out of, Mom said the same thing, gosh. Went to your mother first. I understand, I only do this vocationally, whatever. She said, why do you say that? And I pointed out like 6 different things that were the reasons why it was a scam. And you know what was interesting? No matter what it was that I told her, I could not convince her. But Dad, what if it's true? I'm like, sweetheart, it's not. But what if? So I did what any good dad would do. I put her in the truck, and I drove right over to the house. So I go up, and of course there's cars parked in there. You can see a TV playing in there. So I go up and I knock on the door. Guy comes to the door. Guy comes to the door, and I say, hey, excuse me, I don't want to bother you. But by chance, is this house for rent? What? Who are you? Absolutely not. Get off of my property. He's angry. I said, look, I'm sorry. Don't mean to bother you. I just think you should know somebody's running a scam on Craigslist and they're using your house. They're encouraging people to drive by and check it out. So I explained the situation to him. It actually was really cool. He was really thankful that I did it. So my daughter's next to me. She's watching this whole thing. We go back. We get in the truck. We sit down. I turn it on. She looks at me. First words out of her mouth, I knew it. I mean, it's obvious. And you know what she does? She gives me every single reason that I gave her, and I stopped her. And I said, Angel, sweetheart, I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. The way that we feel influences the way that we think. When we get tired of getting in and out of cars and looking at houses, we're going to start to decide that that market is too hot and it's got to crash. Why? Because we feel like that. Of course, I took that and I tried to turn it into a dating thing for her about what type of guy she would pick, and that's when I lost her. But I never forgot the lesson. And see, here's the thing. Our clients are exactly the same way because we're exactly the same way. It's so easy for our clients to get frustrated. It's so easy to take a look at the headlines that are out there. And let's be honest, these headlines, you know the way that they're designed, they're clicks. The more inflammatory they are, the more likely we are to click on it, right? So if we talk about scary things, people are going to click on it. Here's the problem. It is our job as industry professionals to make sure that we're bringing data and not feelings. This is an example of what it is that I'm talking about. This was a client that was referred to me last October. This client said the same thing that many of you have heard. Man, Jason, I'm just tired. I'm going to wait for it to crash. Then I'm going to get in and buy. I don't think I can do this. So I put together this presentation and I shared it with him and I said, hey, here's the thing. I think interest rates aren't going to stay where they are because they're historically low. And man, I don't know how we're going to end up with more supply so that market crash. If the trends are correct, this is what it looks like. And again, I don't know that you can see this. I was showing them an interest rate of 3.75%. And I forecasted after 6 months that rate would go to 4. After a year, 4 1/8. I said 2 years from this last October, interest rates might be as high as 4.375%. In other words, I blew it. Because rates are higher than that. So I put together this presentation to show him why waiting wasn't such a good idea, and I was even wrong about how much more expensive it would be for him to wait. And then the same thing happens on the value of that house. The value of that house is going to go up. That house that was $475,000 in October, it's comping out at $540 today. Crazy, right? So here's the deal. I put together a presentation to show my client, because that's what our job is. Our job is to educate them. And here's what it is that ends up happening. I'm showing him that if he were going to rent a comparable house for rent, because there are no properties to rent either, right? $2,650. If he were to buy, his mortgage payment would be approximately the same. Now we're talking about inflation, right? What's part of the inflation equation? Rent. So 12 months from today, his mortgage payment, what's that going to be? The same thing, it doesn't change. But that rental payment, when he has to renew that lease, what's that going to do? It's going to go up. So here's the deal. I just modeled, based off of that data that I was showing him, I just put a little chart. He said that he thought that he'd live in the house for up to 10 years. Interestingly enough, if he sold that house 10 years from now, and he paid a commission of $40,000, because we would sell it, right? He would be missing out on amortization gain of, I think that's $35,000. His mortgage balance goes down every single month. His house is worth more every single month. And the amount of cash that he would save, because owning a home is your greatest hedge against inflation. The worst thing in the world that he was getting was cost certainty. The difference to him in terms of net worth was almost $310,000. Is that an amazing number? We know this. We know this. I'm not telling you anything new, because we've done these calculators before. But here's the thing, and this is where it is that we really start to put this thing together. Here's where it is that we start to walk this home, because you can use all the information I've given you today to figure out how to make this market work for you. This market is actually unique, and there are some incredible opportunities that come with it. The first thing to know is this: the rate of return on the equity in your home is zero. It's zero. We're talking about secrets of the affluent. The affluent, they maximize the rate of return on the entirety of their net worth. Why wouldn't we do the same? I want you guys to do a little exercise with me. I want everybody here, if you've sold a home, or if you bought a home in the last 2 years, I just want you to put your hand up. Okay, leave it up. Good. We've all sold homes. This is great. Let me ask you this question. I want you to think of one person that you have sold a home to. Just think of one family. I want you to put your hand back up if you think that that family might be a little bit salty about paying nearly $5 for a gallon of gas. I'm salty about it. Every single time I go to the grocery store and I shop for a family, holy cow, we're spending more money than we've ever spent. And here's the last thing. I'm going to ask you to put your hand up one time if you think that that family that you sold a house to has a lot of equity in their house. I want you to put your hand up again. Good. We all have opportunity. That's settled. How much equity do you think your client who bought a house 2 years ago has in their house? Throw out a number. 100 grand? 200,000? Depends on the price point, somewhere in there. 100 grand, 200 grand, something like that. So here's the deal. What if I told you that there's an opportunity where you could help your clients access the equity that was in their house and use that equity to purchase a piece of residential real estate that they could rent out for a profit? In other words, if you had a way that you could help your clients earn an extra $500, $600, $700 a month, do you think that they might be a little bit less salty about paying $5 for a gallon of gas? Yes. See, that's the thing I want to talk to you about today. See, that is equity power. That's the secrets of the affluent. What we know is we know that when inflation exists, when we know that we're in situations like this, part of the inflation equation is market rent. And that means we have the opportunity to take advantage of it. I'm going to tell you that there's 3 different ways that we can do that. And I'm going to show you examples. Number one, you can do a long-term tenant. How many of your clients do you think are perfectly prepared for retirement? I'm in the mortgage industry. I know better. Perfectly unprepared, right? I was reading something the other day. Do you know that the 401k was actually never designed to be the full answer to somebody's retirement? And yet that's something that some people completely and totally depend on. Social Security, that's going to work, right? If you were to purchase a property and just put a long-term tenant in it, even at today's interest rates in today's market, with market rent where it is that it's at, you could take that property and you could potentially cash flow it without spending a nickel out of your checking account or savings account. This is just a house that I pulled up randomly. I used everybody's favorite website, Zillow. Is that good? You can't see these numbers on the left. I really wish you could, but you'll get my PowerPoint and you'll see what I'm talking about. This house, it sold for $405,000. If you were to access the down payment and the closing costs that you would need from your existing equity and you used it as a down payment on this house, your total cash out of pocket, I can't even read that number. Let me look at it here. Isn't that terrible? $111,500. Market rent, I think you can see that number right over here. I don't know how accurate it is. I don't disbelieve it. It's $2,100 a month. $2,100 a month is enough to cover the mortgage payment on that home plus the cost of the HELOC for taking that piece out. So here's the thing. Even if I don't make a cash flow on that over the next 30 years, if somebody pays my house off, what's that thing going to be worth 30 years from today if I paid nearly $400,000 for it today? 700? So let me ask you this question. If you could tell your client that they could have $700,000 in retirement by liquidating an asset and they didn't have to spend a penny out of their checking account or savings account for it, do you think they might be interested in that? It's not the only way to do it. This way, just so you know, it's the least risk, but it's also the least return. There's another way that I'm really excited about. I got this idea from my adult children. My boys from Ethiopia. My son Hanuk, university. This kid is smart as a whip. I can't keep up with him. He just is constantly going. He bought a house in El Mirage. He turned around and put an ad out because he's a single guy. He doesn't need all the house that he bought. And he's renting it out room by room by room. Do you know what he just rented one of his rooms out for last week? $950. $950 to rent that room out. You know where a great market for room rentals is? Around colleges, Grand Canyon University. So this is a house that I found, which is right off of the I-17. $415,000 is what this house sold for. It has 5 bedrooms. Here's my assumption. If they rented that out for basically $750 a room and they paid 15% to a management company, because your clients are not going to want to deal with 5 different tenants renewing all that type of stuff. But if you paid 15% and I have that management company set up to where they would fill that up, keep your house full, deal with anything that you needed to, you would receive cash flow every single month of $800 a month. If I had an extra $800 a month, you think I'd feel a little bit better if I had to pay $5 for a gallon of gas? Right? If you were to take a look at what that return is, because investors, they want to break that down in terms of like what my actual rate of return is. A 1-year rate of return is 9%. That's almost 10% on your money. That's just cash on cash. That doesn't even include the amortization gain that you get by paying that debt off, and it doesn't include if that property appreciates. I'm going to show you my favorite one next. But before I get to it, I want to ask all of you, have you found some things here today that you think will be of benefit to you in your business? If you can, just put your hand up. I want to see your hands. I'd like to ask you to do one thing if that's the case. I have to thank my sponsors, Debbie, so much for all the hard work that you've put in and done this. And Daryl, this is not possible. An environment like this is not possible without the help that we have. So if you have found value in this, I'd ask you to do me one thing. If you could pay that forward and send your next escrow to Debbie, I would so appreciate it. And if that's the case, if you have a business card, do me a favor, pull out your business card and write "call me" on it. And we're going to come by and pick those up afterwards, because I would love it if you could take care of Debbie for taking care of us and bringing her today. Is that fair? Is that cool? Thank you. Here is my favorite. This house right here, you can look it up if you have your smartphone. 3162 Mountain Lake Drive. You know how I know the address? Because it's mine. I bought it. This is a little manufactured house that sits out in front of Willow Lake and Prescott. I put together some figures on this. I calculated it. In 2021, my average rent on that property was $3,500 a month. The value of the property is $350,000. If you were to pick up this property and purchase it the way that you can at the current market, you would make approximately $1,000 a month positive cash flow. That's $12,000 a year, and the total cash out of pocket on that deal would be right at $90,000. $10,000 on a $90,000 investment. Remember that inflation thing that we were talking about? Here's what's really funny. Last year, I averaged $3,500 a month on that property. Do you know what I deposited last month in receipts on it? $4,300. $4,300. And the thing that's really nice about having an Airbnb is I've got my own vacation property. So when I want to take off and go somewhere for a week, I had a place to go. I'm going to show you one more. This is a deal that I closed on Tuesday. This deal funded Tuesday. This is one of my very best friends. He's a guy that I met. I played basketball with him. Incredible guy. And he came into a situation where he inherited some cash. He didn't know what to do with it. He's like, I feel like I should just stick it in the bank. How well does that work? And I said, I tell you what, let me show you an alternative about what it is that you can do. We went and we found this place. It's on Doodlebug Lane. Doodlebug, what a name. It's in Sedona. He paid $1.35 million for it. This house was actually already an Airbnb, so we had a track record of what it was renting at. Do you know, the day that he closed and the bookings that he transferred over from the previous owners, he had over $45,000 in gross rent already slotted to come to him. $45,000. Here's the thing that's interesting. On this situation right here, his 24-month estimated rate of return on cash and amortization gain, because he's looking at increasing his net worth, 33.089%. 33% rate of return in 2 years on the investment that he made into that property. Here's the thing, gang. We have an opportunity that sits in front of us like no other. And the thing of it is I think sometimes we're missing it. We're missing it because the headlines sound scary. Inflation is out of control. The housing market is going to crash. We've seen all of those different things, but you and I know something different because we're in the industry. We see it every single day. I lost a contract last week because there were 23 offers on the property that my client was making an offer on. We went above appraised value, we waived appraisal, and it still wasn't good enough. It's still happening out there. You know how stockbrokers make their money? You know what they do? They sit in a room and they pick up the phone and they pick a stock and they call their clients. Hey, Carla, this is Jason Fremo with ABC Securities. You know what? I've got this incredible investment. I need you to pick up 100 shares. You'll thank me later. I'm watching this company. It's primed for a breakout. I'm here to help you, and I want to increase your net worth. Pick up 100 shares of it, and you'll thank me later. You know what our problem is in this industry? We play defense so much of the time. We're waiting for that phone to ring, and we're waiting for that business to come to us. We have an opportunity that exists right now unlike anything that we've ever seen, because inflation is continuing to put the market in a place where you can make money on real estate. Market rents are so incredibly high that you have the opportunity to take advantage of it. These borrowing costs, yeah, interest rates are 5%. When I got into the business, they were over 10. And I know some of us remember when interest rates were almost 20% or higher. We're talking about 5%, and we're talking about returning over 33% cash on cash over a 2-year period of time to our investors. So here's the thing. I'm rolling out Jason Fremo, VIP Mortgage, Platinum Investor Group. And one of the things I think that you can do, the way that I think that you have the opportunity to manufacture some transactions, put something in the pipeline for yourself, is to create your own investment group. You have the clients that are out there. You've sold them the homes. They have the equity. They're looking for solutions. This is the opportunity that we have to pick up the phone and make a difference in the lives of our clients. It's a significant thing to take a family that isn't sure what's going on in the market right now, who's paying more money than they've ever paid, who don't know how things are going to be going forward. They don't have the retirement that they want. They don't have the asset base that they want, and they certainly don't have the plan that they want. But we have the information, we have the market, and we have the ability to share this information with them. That, I think, is a significant goal, and I think that is a significant. Ladies and gentlemen, that is equity power. Thank you very much. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I don't even know how we're doing for time. Yes?
Me?
Yes?
Oh, okay. I'm not a realtor, but one of my questions on the last part, you were discussing about taking out equity in the, what you already have. I'm not familiar with Arizona because I came from California.
Yes.
People. But in California, we have the Section 8 housing,
Mm-hmm.
and they use it for like seniors
Yeah.
who don't want to go into like big homes and stuff like that. And I know the young couple there that did something similar to this, 5-bedroom, 3.5-bath house. They had it designed for the handicap, and they make over net over $4,000 a month because they have people sharing rooms.
Yeah.
They have large rooms where people, and all they're doing is they pay a licensed vocational nurse.
Yeah.
24/7, and a person who comes in and cooks meals and cleans, and that is their overhead.
Yeah.
Plus the mortgage, and so I don't know if that's a good idea here or not. Or
Sure, there are people who do that, all the time. There's more that goes into that because of the licensing with it.
laws and stuff.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I think for like what it is that I'm talking about, you have to think through the barriers to entry, right, for the lay consumer. Like, first of all, there's going to be a bit of an objection somewhat if you start talking to people about investing in real estate, because they're going to say, isn't it going to crash, right? and so here's kind of the thing. I think that the power that the market has right now is that you can earn these rates of return with very little effort. You don't have to go through the process of getting licensed. You don't have to go through the process of worrying about the compliance. You don't have to go through the process of hiring an on-staff nurse or any of those things. Now, if you want to, it's great, because the rates of return on that are absolutely fantastic. But, for regular Joe homeowner who bought his house 2 years ago, and he's sitting on a bunch of equity, and he's trying to figure out how he's going to deal with this inflation piece, this is a pretty easy thing, because it boils down to a couple different things. Number one, understanding the concept. Number two, accessing your equity. And number three, identifying the investment property with you. It's really that simple, and I think the simplicity is the beauty of what this piece is. But that's certainly a good idea, and it's something that could work for people who are interested in that. So yeah, that's good. What else? That's way too quiet, guys. Miss Carla.
Okay, I'm property manager also.
Yes.
Just real estate. And just in case anyone hasn't heard the statistics, these last 2 years, rents have gone up 40% per year.
How many?
40%.
So what Carla's saying is she's a property manager. She does rentals. And she's saying that the rents have gone up 40% over the last 2 years.
8% in 2 years.
That's an incredible number. That's an absolutely incredible number.
Wait, 80%?
She's saying 40% per year is what she's saying.
How is that even?
Yeah, I have investors that I work with, and we just had one tenant die, and he was paying only $1,100.
Yep.
Now it's 24.
Now it's 24. I have a client that I took an application for yesterday. They were renting and they were paying $1,200 a month. They increased the rent to $2,100. So he calls me, he's like, yeah, I think it's time to buy.
So as far as accessing your equity, are you talking about a HELOC or are you talking about a cash out refi?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a HELOC. The reason why I'm not talking about a cash out refinance is because you already have an interest rate that's probably what, 3%? So if I reset you to 5, I make your cost to acquire way too high. Here's the beauty of a HELOC. The HELOC, what you have the ability to do with that is access your equity, but you treat it like a line of credit. You're essentially running a business. Right. So let's say that I went and I got a $100,000 line of credit. I accessed $90,000 of it, and I bought that house right there. And every single month, I'm depositing $1,000 a month profit. You know what the best part is? I can take that $1,000, I can pay that down on my HELOC, and I can reduce my capital. And here's the thing, if I wanted to take that money back, I can. So I might have that house for 2 or 3 years, and maybe I had the ability to pay off $34,000 of the HELOC. I still have access to that capital if I want to do anything else. So I like the HELOC idea because you're only borrowing the higher interest rate on the amount that you need, and then it's completely liquid. So if you had the opportunity to pay that HELOC off and take that balance to zero, you just do it all again. So for instance, over the last, well, I'm in the mortgage business. We all know the mortgage business has been fantastic for the last couple years, right? So, you know, we got to do some refinances, 1 or 2, right? So I was pretty fortunate. What I did is exactly what I'm showing you. The way that I purchased that house right there is I went and I took a HELOC out. I took the HELOC, bought the house, did everything that I needed, started making a profit, and then I started taking everything I had to pay that HELOC off. And then once that was done, I turned around and I bought another one. This one I bought in downtown Prescott, in the historic district. You can walk to Whiskey Row from it. This house right here, because I was fortunate, I bought it before it got to $350, $2,000 a month on that house. The one that I have in downtown, I almost make $2,000 a month on. At this point, I have 7 properties, and all 7 of them I've acquired basically by taking the equity that I have, using it to create investment properties, taking the profit from the investment properties, reinvesting it, and going from there. So yeah, I would not do a cash out refinance, I would do a HELOC. That's the way that I would do it. Yes, talk to me about it. So I don't do HELOCs. I don't.
We got a lender in here, right?
Yeah, we're both lenders. So here's the deal. I'll tell you what it is that I do. No, not at all. So the HELOCs, I have places that I'd refer you to. PenFed has a fantastic HELOC. They'll go to 90%. There you go. PenFed's a very good one. Mountain America Credit Union is a good one. Comerica Bank, I have a relationship. Here's the thing. I only do things that I can do very, very well. Okay? I don't do a great job on the HELOC. Mortgage companies are just not generally set up to do that. Your banks and credit unions are going to do a superior job. So I'm going to give you a fantastic referral so that you can maximize your equity. You know what I do really well? I do the mortgage on the property that you're going to buy. Whether you're picking it up as a second home, which you can do as an Airbnb, you can get into that property with as little as 10% down if you purchase it as a second home. If you're doing an investment property, let's say you wanted to do something where you were going to rent rooms out or whatever, we do those too. You know, so again, the place where it is that I come into play and I have the ability to help you is with the strategy, making sure that the clients understand what it is that they're doing and build the financial situation that's going to allow them to cash flow and profit. I don't do the HELOC, but I'll make sure that they go to a place where there's somebody that I've vetted and somebody that I trust that will make sure that they are taken care of. Great question. BMO, fantastic. BMO, what's your max CLTV on a?
On a HELOC, we go to 85. On a loan, we go to 89.
85 is good. That's what are your terms on that at 85?
We like it's a 10-year draw. Well, on the 85 for the HELOC, it's a 10-year draw and then 20-year fixed after that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. That's very,
And then LT, or, that's income.
yeah,
Or alcohol, and no ratios.
yeah.
Through 36 months.
So,
Then no closing costs, and it can keep it for 36 months, then no.
do you know why that's awesome what she's saying? The reason why that is so superior to doing a regular cash out refinance is the no closing cost piece that she's talking about. Literally, you're accessing the equity. Maybe they have an appraisal, or do you do an AVM?
AVM most of the time.
AVM most of the time, so you're not even paying for an appraisal. Maintenance fee a year is what?
$75 unless you've got $250 on deposit with us, and that's what it is well.
Your cost is almost nothing. And here's the thing, the interest on that HELOC, guess who's paying it? Your tenant. Your client isn't even the one paying it. That's the power of this. Think about it. You can tell your clients, I can help you generate a return without spending a nickel out of your checking account or your savings account. We need to talk. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have all that stuff put together. Yes.
So, in a situation where there's multiple assets that have no loans, can we get multiple HELOCs and play with multiple sandboxes?
Do you do just primary residence HELOCs, or do you do anything else?
Or investment properties, just one. but-
Just one.
Yeah. And
So-
it's still 85 on an investment. That might be a little more like just 80.
You, 80 on a non-owner occupied? Oh, we are definitely talking. Yeah.
We're acquiring maybe the West too, so we're really keeping our footprint as well.
Here's my encouragement for what it is that you're saying. Everybody's situation is different. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach to helping people invest. What it requires is taking a look at somebody's situation individually and making recommendations based on where it is that they're at. Some people, they're not going to want to be bothered with the hassle of dealing with multiple tenants in a room-by-room situation. Some of them don't want the hassle of an Airbnb. They might want a regular long-term thing. The thing of it is what we want to do is earn the opportunity to sit in front of them and look at their situation and suggest alternatives for them that they're comfortable with that will put them in a better situation. So in concept, that's what this is, but in practice, it boils down to the individual person and making sure that they're 100% comfortable with what it is that we could put together. Excellent point. Excellent. What else? Okay. Again, I cannot thank you enough for coming here. I really, really appreciate your time this morning. I hope that you found some things that are going to be useful. Again, special thanks to our sponsors, Deb. And Daryl, can you do me a favor and stand up? Daryl Dennis. This is one of my very good friends. This would not happen without her. Without her support, without the energy, without the drive that she had to bring this together. Daryl, just so you know, what she does vocationally is she helps people, she coaches them, she's a mentor, she's been a mentor to me. I've used some of the things that she's taught me. We originally connected in 2005, 2006. I can tell you this, I would not be where it is that I am today without the contribution of very, very special people like Daryl. So if we could, can we just give her a round of applause for taking care of us? Please see her if you have any interest in seeing what it is that you can do if you want to grow professionally that way. I'm going to be hanging out afterwards. Come and talk to me, talk to Debbie, talk amongst whatever. Thank you very much for coming, guys.
Thank you so much. Great job. Oh my God, I'm so glad we got that together.
Yeah, it was good.
I sent you some pictures I've been taking.
Okay, awesome. Cool.
Really good job.
Thank you.
You know, you did great. Oh
Thank
my
you.
God, energy
Thank
is
you.
so strong. Full house.
Yes, that was incredible.
I'm trying not to burst out crying.
I know, right? I know.
Thank you so much.
You betcha. Thank you. Yeah, you betcha. Thank you. Thank you very much. You betcha. Thanks, buddy.
Beautiful.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
man.
for sure. Take it. Hey, thanks for coming. It's nice to meet you. Take care of that one. You betcha. Thank you very much. Hey, great to meet you.
Do you have any cards? or-
I do.
Oh, yes, I want to.
I do. I brought a couple just in case.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You betcha.
So that's like.
Good shit, man.
Thanks, brother. Man, I appreciate you coming.
We got to set up a time so I can go up to Prescott and I'm gonna have my wife talk.
Yeah.
Meet with you guys, with somebody from
Yeah.
your crew.
Okay,
'Cause
awesome.
I see the picture, she doesn't.
Okay, yeah.
So I need to be on board 100% with her.
Yeah, definitely. I'll hook you up. Okay. Thank you.
Great. That was great,
Thank you.
Jason.
Thank you
I
very
mean,
much.
You sold him. I've
Thank
been
you.
trying to tell him all kinds of things for a while.
That BMO lady, that sounds like the
Yeah, no doubt.
she, that's what she, you know.
Yeah, she. That's exact.
Wow, that was.
The man of the hour.
How you doing?
Oh, great,
I didn't mean
sweetheart.
to hijack it.
No, please. Thank you. Thank you. No, I need you. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'd love to sit down and talk to you more.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Are you out here in the West Valley?
I'm all over.
Okay.
I actually live in Prescott now, but I come down all the time.
Okay,
So.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't go that far north, but
It's okay.
you just come here every day to work.
Yeah, you know, why not?
Yeah, but thank you. It was very
You betcha.
informative and I appreciate it.
You betcha. Thank you.
So you suggested PenFed, obviously BMO now. Who was the other one that you mentioned?
Mountain America Credit Union.
I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, they have a couple branches here locally, but they'll go to